either. Well, good. I hope you know more about typewriters than the last guy. Well, so how about it? Are you on a break, or are you going to fix my typewriter?
Well, I'll give it a shot. I'm pretty good at these things.
Certainly hope so. I'm paying good money.
All right, where is it?
It's to the left over there. You want me to show you?
Oh, no, that's okay.
He's blind. They sent us a blind repairman. So what? I used to date a blind man, and I can tell you he was very good with his hands. Anyway, he is not a repairman. He's not?
All right, here we go. What's the problem?
Well, see, the keys won't go down. And what's he doing here? He is Ray Charles. I don't care what his name is. Ray Charles.
Yeah?
Oh, I am so embarrassed. Well, what about me? I'm your mother.
Hello. Welcome back to
Hey, wait.
the Who's the Boss podcast. I almost forgot to say that part. I'm Tori.
I'm Kevin. Why?
I don't know. I think I was waiting
wondering why
for
you
something
paused.
else to happen.
I thought you thought that my impersonation or impression
No.
was good. Not good.
I'm Tori.
We said this.
We
I'm
did?
Kevin. Yeah.
Oh, goddamn. Okay. So before we start, I want to say that, so the last episode we did was Tony the Patchmaker. And at the end of Tony the Patchmaker, we were very proud of ourselves because we noticed that Tony had put pink roses in the living room in the tag of the episode after he mentions to Angela, too bad that Jeffrey's roses weren't pink. Well, the next day I was like, and I did a little more digging. And the roses actually appear right after she and Jeffrey break up. So we were wrong. A little bit.
Oh, okay.
So when they have the fight in the living room, the roses are not there. It's like a fall blend or something. And then
Fall blend.
winter blend. And then in the next scene, when we see the living room again, which is when Jeffrey comes over to grovel, the pink roses are on the table by the stairs. So I think
interesting.
Tony got those to make her feel better, or for the house. I don't know that he necessarily gave them to her. And so they were already there.
Oh.
Yeah. He was trying to get in her head.
Yeah. He's kind of getting something. I don't know.
Okay, so the episode we're going to do today is Season 3, Episode 16. It's called Hit the Road, Chad.
Yep.
It first aired on February 3rd, 1987. And the TV Guide summary says, Angela signs Ray Charles to sing a song that Chad wrote for Samantha, who won't let Angela use the tune after Fame changes Chad.
Okay.
I know.
What?
I don't know.
Oh, Fame change. I understand. Yeah, never mind.
Oh, right. Yeah,
I'm not
because
thinking,
Chad gets
'cause
like a
you-
big
yeah,
head.
the ladies start coming around.
But I love these, and I never read them before I read them right now because
Sometimes
I want to be surprised with the rest of you.
Oh, good, because you can tell sometimes that you are. It's funny because they, it's just sometimes you read them and it just sounds so insane.
I know.
Like, what is this show? Because some of them are so intense.
And they're so short because they had to fit into that little, I don't know if you remember the TV Guide.
Yes, I totally remember the little rectangle box.
Yeah,
it
was
in.
a very small little space that they had to put the information.
Right.
So this episode was written by Howard Myers. He has written quite a few and produced some and been story editor on others. So when this episode opens, Tony...
Well, let's just say that, I'm sorry, that the name of the episode comes, we think, from Hit the Road, Jack, which was a Ray Charles, not written, but performed by Ray Charles.
It's a very popular Ray Charles.
So Hit the Road, Chad.
So just moments ago, you mentioned that out loud.
Because I realized it just moments ago.
And as I heard, as the words came out of your mouth, I realized it as well.
I know. It's like, oh my gosh, why did it take us to... We call ourselves a podcast that does research.
And let me tell you, I know a lot more about Ray Charles now than I did 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I actually have done quite a bit of research about him. And I remember being excited for him to be on this show as a kid, and I don't know why.
That's interesting.
Yeah, like...
You know what it is? It's just something different. The show you watch that you enjoy, it's just a new person on. It's something different. I don't know.
I guess so. And I feel like maybe my parents had like his records, so I knew of him. Maybe. I obviously was much younger than his target audience. Even most of the people on this show are much younger than his target audience. But and normally when there was like a big guest star where it was like about them, I didn't like the episodes, but also maybe because this focused so much on Samantha as well. But I just remember really liking this episode as a kid and really loving the Ray Charles parts. Okay, so when this opens, Tony is in the kitchen lip syncing a song that's playing on the little boombox that they have on the table. And it is a song, he will explain in a bit, that has been written for Samantha by Chad McCann. So now Chad's back.
Yeah. Okay, then we realize that, yeah.
Yeah. So
when's the last time we saw him?
The last time we saw him, yeah, right? No, or was that the first time we saw him?
I think maybe that's the first time.
Oh, damn. Well, you know,
but whose son is he?
He is the son of the guy that they met at the PTA meeting the night of the babysitter.
Yes. Okay,
when he basically was like, yeah, no, my kid's going to get
you remember that.
Pants if you don't go home right now. So they went running home. But then we've heard a lot about Chad McCann, but we haven't seen him. And for a while, Samantha was dating Todd.
Right.
So my thought was that maybe perhaps this was all supposed to be Chad, but they couldn't get Scott Grimes, who is the actor who plays Chad McCann. And so they inserted Todd, but it does seem kind of weird because now it's like Chad and Samantha are kind of in a relationship, which we haven't really seen the build up to that. Okay, so Tony's singing the song, and Angela and Mona come in from work. They came in the back door this time. And Mona is dressed like a flight attendant.
I don't understand what's happening there.
Who works like a Texas route or something. Because she's got like a cowboy hat on, but then like almost a flight attendant suit. Or a page, as if she was working for NBC. I don't know. It's very odd.
It is a weird. I thought there was going to be a reference to it, but
no, there's no reference to how she's dressed at all. Yeah, so they kind of start ribbing Tony for the fact that he's lip syncing this song, and he's all embarrassed. And Angela's like, "Oh no, I mean it's really good. You might have a career in this." And Mona says, "Only if you can keep your voice from dropping, because the boy on the recording has a much higher voice."
Right.
He's a pubescent boy, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
And then Tony says it works for Wayne Newton. So was Wayne Newton known for having like a high pitched voice?
You don't know Tonka Shane? You ever hear that song?
Yeah.
That's Wayne Newton. It sounds like a female singing it.
Oh, okay. So he was known for having.
Yes, when he was a kid, like when he did Tonka Shane. I mean, I can't tell you how old he was, but he was really young.
Okay, so like Michael
like 12
Jackson
or something like that.
Like when Michael Jackson used to sing.
Yeah.
With the Jackson 5, he had a much higher voice.
Yeah.
Okay, so then when they cut to when Tony makes the joke and then they go back to Mona, she must have whipped her cowboy hat off so quickly because it's like the shot's not that long and then the hat's gone. But I looked and it is still in her hand and then she sets it down. So I think it was just like a quick hat removal that looks awkward because we don't see it. So Angela's like, I got to go do more work. She's come home. She's got to go straight back to work in her 1,700 square foot office. Because Tony's like, hey, wait, I want you to hear this song. She's like, I have no time. I have to go work on the Sturdy Boy presentation. And
I gotta go work.
Tony's like, oh, Sturdy Boy, isn't that Power Tools? And so then Angela's like, yes, let me run an idea by you. I always think this stuff's cute when she like wants to bounce ideas off of Tony and get his opinion. But Mona's like, uh-oh. Yeah. She probably knows where this is going. She's heard it quite a few times already. So Angela starts talking about a shot in Ireland. There's a man on a thatched roof repairing the roof, and then she starts singing a version of Oh Danny Boy, but with Oh Sturdy Boy in place.
Oh, wait.
Repairs are calling. And it's not good.
No. Repairs,
not
repairs
only is it
are
not a good song, it's not a good advertising angle. So, I mean, come on, Angela. She's supposed to be the best here, right? So then Mona makes a terrible joke about how this is why her voice teacher killed himself. Okay, so...
It's just like all of a sudden it takes a turn.
I know. And like, okay, so there are a lot of jokes in this episode that would not happen today. And suicide jokes, I'm going to put on that list. So let's steer clear of those from now on. But it was 1986, whatever. It wasn't the same. So then Angela's like, that it was an accident. He was cleaning his gun.
Oh my gosh. It still takes a turn.
So now Tony's like, okay, Mona, do you want to hear the song? And Mona's like, I want to talk about the fact that you're not upset that there's a kid writing a love song about your daughter. And he's like, it's not a love song. It's a friendship song. Because the song is called Always a Friend, or You Are Always a Friend. And it is kind of a friendship song. But then Chad and Samantha walk in the back kitchen door, and he's got his arm around her. And as soon as Tony sees that, he says, Chad, arm off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very Tony.
That is pretty overprotective.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to really be upset that this kid has his arm around your kid?
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So they're talking about the song, and Chad's like, oh, you know, I just thought about Sam, opened my heart, and jammed it into my synthesizer. Now, Chad's been kind of a dick from the first time we've met him.
Yep.
And he hasn't changed. And like in this, it's only going to go downhill here. But he's just kind of like a little arrogant kid.
It's always been that way.
Yes, he has. He does look quite bigger here, though, than the first time we saw him. But
That's
I guess
true,
so does
he
Sam,
does. But it's been a while. A season.
Yeah, that was season 2, The Babysitter, because Sam looked much different, too.
Yeah.
So now we cut to the next day in the office. This little boombox gets around.
It does. It travels.
Yes, it let them know that there was no school that day for the snow day. And now it was in the kitchen. Now it's at the office. And Mona is listening to the song because you know they only had one tape of this song.
That's true. There wasn't multiple copies laying around.
Right. It's not like anyone was playing it on their iPod or iPhone or anything.
Mona had to borrow the radio and the tape for the day.
Right. And she's listening to the song as she's sitting at her desk and she's enjoying it. And in wanders a man.
I mean, it's so ridiculous.
And it is Ray Charles. So,
first of all, they got Ray Charles. Whoever he's with, they just start letting him wander around the building.
Okay, well, I have learned quite a bit about Ray Charles, and I will touch on that.
So he could get around on his own pretty well.
He was fiercely independent. Yeah,
that's great.
But yeah, so
but still, he comes wandering in,
right?
And then he's like, "What are you listening to?" Right. Like he heard music and thought it was a good song and wandered in.
Right. They never explain like why he's there. I guess we can assume maybe his record label is also in the same building, or an accountant or a lawyer, or someone he does business with.
But he wouldn't go wandering in offices because he hears this song.
He would if he's Ray Charles.
I guess so.
And he does.
All right.
Yeah. So I can touch a little bit. Should I talk about him here? I guess so.
Yeah, because he's coming. He's entered the scene.
Okay, so this is Ray Charles. I did quite a bit of research, and he just had a very sad life. And like his mother had a sad life. He was born in 1930. So his mother's name was Aretha. His father's name was Bailey. And at some point, Aretha's parents died, Aretha's mother died, and the father said that he couldn't take care of her. So he gave her to his friend, and that friend's name was Bailey Robinson. So it was a guy that he worked with. So Bailey took her home, and then he and his wife, whose name was Mary Jane, informally adopted her. But this man was molesting her because by the time she was 15, she was pregnant with Ray Charles.
Oh, wow.
From Bailey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just terrible. So they sent her away until she gave birth to him in the summer of 1930. He was born in Albany, Georgia. But then they went back home, and Bailey just left. He left his first wife. He left Aretha. So then Aretha and Bailey's wife, Mary Jane, raised their kids together. And then Aretha ended up getting pregnant with another child shortly after. So Ray had a little brother who then drowned.
Oh, God.
I know. It's just a very sad story. So then at the age of 5, Ray started losing his eyesight to a form of glaucoma. And his mother sent him. So at this point, they had moved to, they were in Greenville, Florida. She gave birth to Ray in Georgia, but the family lived in Greenville before, and then she came back to Greenville after. So he was sent to a school in St. Augustine for blind children. And there he went to school, I think all the way through most of his schooling, because at 14, his mother died. And so now he was left completely alone. So just like, the resiliency of this young man to begin with. He was first introduced to soul music when he would hear them playing like in his town. This was before he went blind. Did I say that he was completely blind by 7 years old?
I don't know if he did, but I know you said he started going blind at 5.
Okay, yes. He started going blind at 5, was completely blind by 7.
Wow.
Yeah. Then learned music while he was at the school for the blind and just obviously had an immense aptitude and talent for it. And then just continued on from there. As soon as he was old enough, I believe he moved out to Oregon to try to, not to mention the fact that segregation was still around until 1964.
Right.
So for 34 years of this man's life, he was also, playing music in all of these places and wasn't allowed to, be integrated with the rest of society. So, yeah, he just had quite a life. But I'll get into this a little bit more. He also was pretty much a pretty big playboy too. So a lot of the flirtiness here, I think, going on is probably very true. So he walks into the office and Mona immediately recognizes him. And she's like, it's Ray Charles. Because she's shocked that this man just walked into their office. And so she's like, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I heard some music. I was just wondering what that song is. Like, what do you guys do here? And so Mona starts talking to him. She's like, I've loved you forever. She refers to him as Brother Ray, which was one of his nicknames. And then she says, I always wanted to be a Raylette. And a Raylette was his backup singers. That was the way they called
I figured
them.
As much.
Yeah. And he ended up being slapped with paternity suits from quite a few members of his Raylettes.
Oh, no.
Yes.
The Raylettes.
By the time he had 12 children with 10 women.
Oh, my God.
And when he passed away, I guess he knew he was terminally ill at some time in the early 2000s, and he got all of his kids together. I don't know that all of them went to like this luncheon, but he pretty much got everyone he could together and said, like, I have these trusts for you because my life is coming to a close here. So yeah, he was definitely a playboy. And there's an autobiography that I'm kind of interested in reading, but where he basically says like he was addicted. He had a drug problem for a while, and he said his addictions were drugs and women. So here's some more uncomfortable conversation going on here where like Mona's just like, he says like, well, oh, what do you look like if you want to be a Raylette? And she's like, I'm young, black, and beautiful. And then she says that people call her Sister Mona. But then she admits that she's not black. But like, these are just kind of uncomfortable jokes at this point because we don't want to hear white people pretending to say that they're black people.
She's like, you got me, I'm not black.
Right.
But she didn't deny being young and beautiful.
I mean, she is beautiful.
No, I know. It's just funny.
Right, yes.
Very Mona.
And then there's a little bit of some uncomfortable jokes about him being blind here as well. But again, it's 1986, so we're going to let it slide.
Yeah.
So now Angela comes out. So he and Mona have had this nice little conversation. Angela comes out, she sees a man sitting there, and she's like, oh, thank goodness.
All right.
you're here to fix the typewriter. And Mona's like trying to stop her, but not trying too hard.
Yeah, she lets it ride.
Yeah, kind of let it go.
Let's see where this goes.
So she's like, okay, well, I'm paying good money here. So are you on a break or are you going to fix the typewriter? So what we're learning here is that Angela's kind of a bee to people.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, is this how she normally treats like a workman that would come in to fix something?
I guess so.
I mean, the stakes have to be high for the laugh here, but it is just kind of funny that Angela's being so mean. So he's like, okay, well, I'll give it a shot. I mean, just show me where it is. So he walks over to the typewriter, and Angela starts to get the idea that this man is blind. And she's like...
so ridiculous.
She says to Mona, they sent us a blind repairman. And Mona's like, so what? I used to date a blind man, and I can tell you he was very good with his hands.
Of course.
And she's like, but anyway, that is not a typewriter repairman. That is Ray Charles. And Angela's like, I don't care what his name is.
Right.
And then she realizes that her mother just said Ray Charles and puts it together, that Ray Charles is trying to fix her typewriter.
Yeah.
So... she's like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. She walks over to him and he's like, well, I don't know. No, give it a shot though. Like, try it out here. So she checks out the typewriter and it does work. Now what I was saying earlier, like I am actually not surprised that Ray Charles would be able to fix a typewriter because he was fiercely independent. And he said that his mother always taught him as a kid, like once he started losing his eyesight, she still wanted him to make sure he did pretty much everything he did before. And she would tell him, I'm not always going to be here for you, so you need to take care of yourself. And his mother had always been kind of sickly, so I feel like she knew that she wasn't going to live very long.
Oh, okay.
Which just makes it even more sad.
Yeah.
But, I watched a documentary on him, and, he was saying being blind to him is only losing 1% of what everyone else has. He's like, yes, I can't look at my wife. I can't look at my kids, but that's really it. Like I can experience and I can, his whole life was music too. He's like, I have music and so I'm fulfilled. And he really worked to be able to do the things that he wanted to be able to do.
Wow.
And when we get to the driver part later, I have a funny story for that too. So they ask him, Mona asks if he wants to hear more of Chad's song. And she tells Angela, Ray really likes it. And he's like, yeah, so what exactly do you guys do here? Are you in the music business? And she's like, oh, no, we are an advertising agency. And he's like, oh, is that a song for a campaign? And she's like, no, that's not a song that we would ever use. Excuse me. She's like, that's a song that was written by a 14-year-old boy.
Right.
And Ray's like, oh, well, it's pretty good. And she's like, well, unless we could get, the right person to sing it. Right. So I love how he's like, oh, baby, it's not my bag.
Right. Even though he wandered in, thought it was so good.
But then Angela says, well, is there anything we can do to put it in your bag?
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
That's very cute. So he's like, it would have to be really something I could get behind. So I think he's basically saying like, I like the song, but you'd need to let me kind of put my own spin on it. It's not something that I would sing the way it is right now. So she starts getting excited and she's like, okay, well, this is great. I really feel like we could work together on this. So now we cut to school where Chad is walking in like he is...
That's ridiculous.
The new member of a boy band or something.
Yeah, rock star.
Yeah. And Bonnie is saying to Julia, oh, it's so exciting that Ray Charles is going to sing his song. So a little bit of time must have passed now where Angela has worked this out. It is going to go through. Chad knows he's going... Because, they never really bring this up, but Chad's going to get paid for this. They're purchasing his song to use on a commercial.
He's going to get residuals for this song.
Yeah, definitely. And so Bonnie says to Julia, isn't it so exciting that Ray Charles is going to sing a song? And she's like, yeah. And then she asks, who is Ray Charles?
Of course.
Yeah, but, honestly, I guess this age group, you would know, I knew of Ray Charles and I was younger than Samantha. You would know of him, but you may not really, unless her parents, just never listened to his records or anything. Samantha comes running in, and she's saying, don't we make such a great songwriting team? And Bonnie's like, well, I thought Chad wrote the song. And she's like, yeah, but I'm the inspiration. So then they start listing off other songwriting groups, and it's Hall & Oates.
Right. Jesus, Ashford.
Yeah, what was the second one?
Ashford and Simpson was the first one, I think, and then Hall & Oates.
Oh, okay. Who's Ashford and Simpson? I'm sorry. I thought you might know that off the top of your head because you're...
kind of, but...
Then she says Irving and Berlin, and everybody laughs. And the laugh there is that it's just a composer named Irving
Irving Berlin was American composer. But of course, leave it to...
Julia.
To say that, like she knows what she's talking about. She's kind of right, but...
So then Samantha's like, what can I say? The poor guy is just crazy about me. But how about the fact that...
Well, Ashford and Simpson actually makes more sense because they were a songwriting team that was married. They were married.
Oh, okay. Okay,
so
that does make sense.
Then they did the soul, R&B, and funk. So
okay.
That's what I thought, but I didn't want to speak and say I know who they are.
Yeah, I meant to look that group, that team up, and I forgot. But they are standing about 15 feet away from where Chad is already kissing this girl.
I know.
I love how on sitcoms nobody can see what's happening.
No one can see anything until it's time to see it.
Very short-sighted. So they walk over right after Sam says, "What can I say? He's crazy about me," and Chad is kissing Susie Sherman. Now, Susie Sherman is played by, I looked her up. Hang on.
Susie Sherman.
Julie Condra. And I
feel like this is the only time we see Susie Sherman.
You mean in this episode?
In this show.
Yes.
I mean, in the whole history. I was just kidding around.
What is she? Oh, she's still working. One Night in Bangkok, Mrs. Davies, 2020. The Driver, 2019.
Okay. Yeah. Nixon. Is that the Nixon?
Oh, she was in the Wonder Years. Oh, I remember her on the Wonder Years.
Oh, really?
Yes, I think she goes out with what's the main kid on the Wonder Years?
Kevin.
Kevin. We should know.
Well, that's the character name. Fred Savage.
Fred Savage, yeah. But I think she goes out with Kevin for a little bit.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So Sam's angry, but I mean, let's not mention the fact that she's been dating somebody else for a while.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if maybe I just didn't question any of this when I was a kid because I understood middle school relationships a little better. But again, it seems as though all of this was probably written for Chad McCann, and then they had to substitute with Todd.
Yeah, I think so too because it's a weird transition there.
And he was in a movie in 1986 called Critters. A couple of other things, so possibly maybe he was just like shooting something at the time and couldn't.
He might have been shooting Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night.
What year was that? 87.
Because that came out in 87.
So he is actually only in 2 episodes of Who's the Boss. It just feels like he's in more because we've heard about him.
You hear his name
long.
A lot, right?
Yeah. So the babysitter and then this episode. Okay, so the girls are like, all right, Sam, like, don't make a scene or anything. And she's like, I'm fine. I'm not going to make a scene. I'm a mature woman. And then she just kicks him really hard in the shin.
Yeah.
And walks away.
He deserves it.
And like you were saying, it looks like she kind of makes contact there.
She does. But I think there's some kind of padding.
Yeah. Hopefully they put something in his
Yeah, because she does kick
jeans,
him pretty good.
Yeah. So now we cut to Samantha at home. And she's crying on the couch, and Tony's consoling her. And she says, how could he do this to me? And with Susie Sherman, of all people, she has a huge behind.
Oh, man.
Let's leave Susie Sherman's behind out of
I
this.
know. Why? We got to insult Susie Sherman and shame her.
All right. I'm not going to say that Susie Sherman was the nicest here because she probably knew that Chad was going out with Samantha, but we don't need to make fun of her behind.
Well, maybe that's something Chad liked.
And Chad's the one who was cheating, not Susie Sherman.
Yeah, okay. I know. She gets thrown right under the bus.
All right. So Sam's saying, he made me feel like I was special and made me think I was special. And Tony's like, I know this is probably not going to help, but I think you're special. And she's like, you're right. It doesn't help.
Right.
So he's saying, like, this is a lot harder now that you're a teenager. When you were a kid and you'd come home and you had a scraped knee or whatever, all I had to do was make a silly face and some dumb noises, and then you felt much better.
Yeah, it gets harder when they get older, I guess.
So he makes a couple of silly noises and dumb faces, and she kind of laughs. And he's like, oh, it still works. And so, he's like, I hope you feel better. I love you. And he goes to go into the kitchen. So she picks up Chad's tape and starts ripping it. Yeah. And at that point, that's it. That's it for that. There's probably another copy now because Angela needed it for Ray Charles, but it's not like you had it everywhere.
Well, and is this the same day? Yeah, Mona had it at work with the radio.
Oh, yeah. Maybe they did have copies.
Maybe there were a few copies laying around.
They had one of those, remember the tape recorders where you would have it was a double deck
cassette
one?
to cassette.
Yeah.
Tape to tape.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I used to make mixtapes all the time by recording off of other tapes.
For all those girls.
Yeah, they threw them all away. Probably did what she did to the one on the couch when I gave them to them.
You made me a mixed CD when we first started dating, and I probably still have it somewhere.
Yeah. See?
Okay, so right then, Angela comes into the house, and she's singing the song, Always a Friend. And Samantha's like, oh, Angela, please. And she's like, is my voice that bad? And she's like, no, your voice is fine. She's like, she's
like, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Funny.
That's what my late voice teacher said, that it was not unlike Petunia Clark, who I didn't look up. I don't know.
The teacher who accidentally shot himself by cleaning his gun.
I know. Yeah. Again. Yeah. Just the little mention of her late voice teacher.
I know. We got to still.
And Samantha's like, I just don't ever want to hear that song again. And Angela's like, oh, no, why not? And she says, because Chad McCann's a toad. And so now Angela's concerned. She quickly hangs up her jacket and comes over and is like, what happened? And Samantha explains that she caught him kissing Susie Sherman. And what does Angela call him? That pubescent little philanderer. Yeah.
It's so funny how she can be so classy while trying to insult somebody. Right. Yeah. Very Angela.
I know. She's going to insult him, but she's going to use the biggest
fancy words.
Yeah, fanciest words she knows. She's very fancy Nancy. So Angela's like, how dare he treat you like that? And Samantha's like, oh, so you get it? And she's like, of course I get it. Like, I'm a woman too. We're sisters. Like, this is your first heartbreak and stuff. So they're hugging, and then Samantha's like, I was afraid you were going to still want to use Chad's song.
Yeah.
And then all the blood rushes out of Angela's face.
Yeah, she's like, oh.
Right. She's like, pardon me? And then Samantha gets very dramatic here and says, part of me dies every time I hear it.
Oh, my gosh.
When I saw this as a kid, I was probably like, yes, it does.
Oh, yeah.
And
now tears.
I know. And now I want to kick her in the shin like she kicked Chad McCann.
I know.
But so Angela's trying to be supportive, but she's like, listen, sometimes you just really need to push past these things and move on. Like, it's going to be okay. You're going to get over this. And trying to get her to, agree to still let her use the song. You got to pull yourself together and get over it, is what she says.
Get it together.
And Sam's like, I will. And Angela's like, by 7:00. And Samantha's confused. And Angela says, well, that's when Ray Charles is coming over here to sing the song. He can't wait to run it by me. And then Sam's like, he's going to ask you about music?
Yeah. She's like, Ray Charles?
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
So Sam says, I do not want him singing that song. And Angela's like, well, there's a lot at stake here, and I wish that you would be understanding about this. And then Samantha again is kind of out of character here for me.
Yeah.
Like, we have seen her be a little sneaky and stuff with Angela in the episode Junior Executive. But for the most part, like, the two of them are pretty polite to each other every time.
Yeah, they're civil. Like, she's not ever really yelling at her.
Yeah, they don't treat each other like
mother-daughter.
Right. They treat each other more like aunt and niece or something, I would say. Mm-hmm. So she's like, I get it. You care more about your work than you do about me. And Angela's like, that is not at all true. And just then, Jonathan comes down the stairs, also
victim.
singing Always a Friend. I know. And Samantha's like, Jonathan, shut up. And now Angela gets kind of pissed. And she's like, there's really no reason to take it out on him. I understand that you're upset. And Samantha just doubles down. And then Jonathan's like, yeah. And she's like, I told you to shut up. And then she calls him Squirt, which is kind of not really.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, like at that point, if any brother or sister is talking to each other like that, you're going to tell them to stop. But you can tell that Angela's still kind of along the line of like, how much do I kind of discipline here? Like, am I overstepping by saying anything? But then she says, go to your room. Mm. And then Samantha's like, you're not, she really starts yelling now. It's like, you're not my mother.
I know, it's so intense.
I know, and you can't tell me what to do. So now Sam is totally yelling at her like she would yell at a parent. And then Angela pulls out the mom yell. Like, when Angela yells back to Samantha, go to your room, that is a mom yell.
It is.
It's no longer polite, Angela.
No.
So I love Tony's little run out of the kitchen.
He's like, what?
Like, he has no idea what could possibly be going on out here. And
he just hears yelling.
Right. And Samantha says, he's like, what is going on? And she says, Angela just told me to go to my room. But also, like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, Angela told you to go to your room. Like, this is your dad's employer. Like, I know, I still feel like it was a little out of character for her to go that far. And then the other thing is that, like, we would maybe have more compassion for Sam if she would have said to Angela, like, this commercial is going to be on everywhere, and every time people hear it at school, they're going to know it was written about me and I got dumped by Chad McCann. Then, I mean, we still would need to use the song because, it's a multi-million-dollar ad campaign, but then I feel like you would at least have a little more compassion as for why Samantha is so upset here.
Yeah, really.
But we only have 22 minutes, and It's a sitcom.
So forget all that.
Yes. So Samantha yells, you're not my mother. Angela yells, go to your room. Tony comes running out. What's going on? She tells him, Angela told me to go to your room. And Tony says, so go to your room.
Right.
And so she does. She goes upstairs. And then Angela immediately starts crying.
I know. And then Tony has to console her on the couch now.
I know. And like, the part that, and so Tony's saying here to her, like, she loves you. I know she does. She just had a really rough day. So I feel like what Angela is most upset here is Samantha yelling, you're not my mom.
Yeah, I think so.
Because Angela's already such a tender heart, and then, that probably really upset her. So he says, it's still no excuse for her to talk to you that way. And she says to him, she doesn't want me to use the song. And Tony's even like, well, can you blame her? Like, he kind of gets it, but
right.
He still understands that she probably needs to use it. Although he does say, can't you just get another one?
Yeah, songs are so easy to write. We'll just go, somebody else can go write one up real quick.
Yeah, you go get a head start on that, Tony.
Yep.
So Tony says that he'll talk to Samantha, and she's like, what are you going to say to her? And he's like, you don't say anything to a teenager. You just, because they're going to think you're lecturing, and then they start daydreaming about the fact that they need a new yellow blouse. So they must not have wanted to get Samantha's bedroom set out for this episode, because instead she comes back downstairs, and then Angela's like, I'll leave you two alone.
Right.
They're like, really? Do we have to get that whole set just for this one, like,
that's a lot of
2-minute
work.
scene? I bet. Yeah. So he starts talking to Samantha, and she's like, oh, you're going to lecture me. And he's like, I don't lecture, do I? And she's like, yes, you absolutely do. So, but he makes good points. He's like, Angela loves you like you're her own daughter, and sometimes you need to make sacrifices for the people you love. And, I know that you don't want this song to happen, but Can you please just try to be understanding? But Sam's just kind of mad that he is taking her side.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
And she's a teenager in her world. That's all that matters.
Right. Exactly. This is like the worst thing that's ever happened to her in her world.
Think about it.
And it is so funny watching this show from a kid to an adult because you just really do see things differently.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be totally on her side.
But I honestly don't remember if in my, however old I was, brain here, I thought that Angela shouldn't use the song. Or if I was just like, yeah, that would suck. Because it does kind of seem very childish for her to absolutely not want her to use the song. So, okay, now we're in the kitchen. And
Tony's getting the leftovers out.
Yes, he's getting ready to make dinner. And Mona comes in. I mean, I don't even know what this dress is.
I don't either. And meanwhile, she's dressed to the nines for a blind man. But I mean, I guess it's the whole point of that's Mona.
It's got to be, maybe, yeah. I mean, one, I guess it's got to be part of the joke, but let's not make blind jokes. But two, maybe Mona feels really good in this outfit, and so that's just going to make her feel better around Ray Charles.
Sure.
So he's like, where are you going? Bible class? And she's like, no, I'm not going to miss this for anything. And he's like, you're not going to miss leftover meatloaf?
He has no idea.
Because that's what he's planning to make for dinner. And she's like, you're going to serve Ray Charles leftover meatloaf? So what everyone has failed to tell Tony in all of this is that Ray Charles is coming over to the house. And he's like, Ray Charles is coming here for dinner? And she says, yes, in about 20 minutes. And he's like, Angela didn't tell me. And he starts running around. He's very upset. And then Mona's like, oh, that's right. She asked me to tell you. And then here's another instance of Mona not being apologetic enough for something dumb that she's done. She's just like, oh, you can handle this. Like, I had a million things to do. I had to get a piano here. I had to get my nails done. I had to find a gardenia this time of year because she has a gardenia in her hair.
Well, I guess gardenias weren't. You couldn't find a gardenia in February in Connecticut.
Yeah, no, I would imagine that would be hard. So we cut to Tony running around the kitchen trying to open a can of sauce. He's got eggs. He's got meat out.
What's his plan here?
Breadcrumbs. And he's
going to make a fresh meatloaf?
Maybe, or some sort of meatballs. But if you look, okay, so he runs over to the cabinets right before Angela comes in to the kitchen. And he's like creating such a whirlwind that as he runs away, the salt and pepper shakers on the cabinet are swaying back and forth.
Oh my God, that's funny. They really are.
And then Angela comes in and she's like, is there anything I can do to help? And he's like, no, you're going to get hurt. Just let me know when he's here. And then the doorbell rings.
You're going to get hurt.
He's here. So they open up the door.
And then there again, the doorbell's ringing and Mona's fixing her hair in the mirror to make sure it looks good for the blind man who's coming into the house.
I know. Maybe she's going to end up with the driver, though.
Well,
He's
maybe she
handsome.
saw the driver. True.
Right.
She's like, what's up with him?
Okay, so the doorbell rings. They open it. It is Ray Charles and his driver, whose name is Bo Billingsley, and he's labeled as Dave. The character is Dave. So the funny story I was going to tell here is let me see what Billingsley has been in.
I you know what? I almost thought, I wonder if it's his real driver, at the time.
Yeah, no.
But it's just an actor.
This is definitely an actor. He has 286 credits on IMDb. Not the highest we've seen, but one of the highest.
Pretty high.
For sure. Yeah, very high. Oh, he's in your movie Night Shift.
Oh yeah, Night Shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in an episode of Moonlighting. Oh, he's in announcer voice. He does have an announcing voice for sure.
Trapper John MD.
Dynasty, yeah, Trapper John, Matlock.
Gosh, everything and anything.
I know. Now let's look closer to now.
He's in Mad About You.
Oh, in the reboot. Yeah, 2019. He was in the reboot. And he was in an original episode, too. That's funny. Okay. Now,
interesting.
Wait, when I looked at him on Who's the Boss here, actually, hang on one second. Let me check this again. Where are you, Who's the Boss? Where'd you go? Oh, this is fantastic podcasting. Yeah. I don't know. Tell a joke or something in the meantime.
Oh, well.
Oh my gosh.
And the thing is, the
Why
guy...
Why can I not find it?
When he goes to leave, they ask him if he wants to come in. And then he's like, do you have cable TV?
Right, yeah.
You know, hot tub. Like, there's a hot tub in the limo?
Okay, yes. He's in 2 episodes of Who's the Boss. He's going to be back in the episode Mona playing a chef. That's what I noticed, and I wanted to
Okay,
say
that's what you wanted to point out.
Should have written down.
A different
yeah, he's going to play a different character in another episode.
Gotcha.
Yes, so yes, you have cable TV, a hot tub.
Hot tub.
And then Angela's like, no. And he's like, I'll wait in the limo.
Yeah, well, it's nice in there.
Now, when Ray comes in, he sees, or I'm sorry, he does not see. He is introduced to Jonathan, and he's like, oh, hi, who are you? And then Jonathan says, I'm my mother's son. And I tried to look up if that was a lyric to a song.
Nothing,
or the name of a song, and I could not find anything. But I do know that it's just kind of a saying, and so maybe it was like an older saying, and that's why he said it to him. So Ray says, so am I.
It's kind of funny.
So Ray introduces his driver as Dave, as his driver and all-around nice guy. So then Dave leaves to go back into the limo, and Ray comes into the house. She introduces him. She reintroduces him to Mona. She's like, it's Sister Mona again. You remember her? And he's like, who could forget? So they bring him over to the couch, and she's like, I would like to introduce you to someone else. Tony comes in. She's like, this is my housekeeper and all-around good guy, Tony Micelli. And Tony's gushing about what a big fan of his he is, and that he and Ray have spent a lot of romantic evenings together.
Oh boy, which we'll hear about more later.
Right. And he's like, just the 2 of us? And he says, only when I struck out. And then Mona comes in and she says, I've never had that problem.
Of course.
So then Angela's like, I would like you to also meet Samantha. This is Tony's daughter. And Ray remembers that this is the girl who the song has been written about. So he's like, oh, you must feel pretty special having that song written about you. And she's not going to get into it here. So she's just like, yeah. And then Tony asks if he would like a drink. And Samantha says, make it a double.
Yeah, right. She chimes right in.
He says, I was talking to Ray. And then he says, no, thank you. I promised Dave I would drive back tonight. And then he just kind of lets that hang in the air for a minute. And
right,
then
and get the
starts
laughs.
laughing. So there's a funny story in the documentary I watched today that his son told, which is that his dad had this like beautiful Corvette. And he one time convinced his driver to let him drive it. And so the guy was like, I really don't...
I think I've heard this story.
And so he let him drive like just a little bit, but he smashed it. And so then the police got there, and the driver was like, they were asking him who was driving, and he says Ray was driving, and they were going to arrest him because they thought he was lying. And Ray Charles had to say, it really was me driving. So yes. So
it's like, why?
I know, like, not the safest thing, but I also just kind of love the passion there of like, I mean, why, you know, if it would have been in a safer environment, let the man drive his Corvette. He bought it, you know.
I know. Well, still,
let's just, next time, let's have like more of an open area so that he doesn't hurt himself or anyone else. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty fantastic story. So then Jonathan comes over and asks him if he would sign his album. And Ray's like, sure, which one is it? And he's like, well, it's not actually one of yours. It's Simon the Singing Whale, but he does do Georgia on My Mind.
That's so funny.
And then I'm guessing he just goes ahead and signs it. So he's like, you know, I don't know if I can compete with Simon the Singing Whale, but how about if I play the song that I've arranged for you? And they're like, oh, great. And then he says, all right, show me that baby grand. And they lead him over to an upright piano.
That's
so I don't know if that's like a joke or
I know.
or what. And then I was thinking they probably should have gotten a baby grand for this. But I mean, to getting it on the set's not an issue. But I guess the idea of logistically getting that into Angela's house would have been ridiculous. But it would have looked much better than this church piano with the little brown curtain hanging off the back here.
I know. I wonder if he just said that take me over the baby grand, and they just left it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because he probably
you're going to tell him there's not a baby grand there? He wouldn't know.
And he was
Maybe
probably
when he
thinking,
sits
like,
down.
I'm Ray Charles, so you're going to bring me over to a baby grand, not this little church upright piano. But, I mean, it is, I'm sure it's a perfectly fine piano. It just probably would have been a little aesthetically pleasing if they actually had a baby grand there for this. So, and the
just
other
so
thing,
everybody knows, there's no Simon the Singing Whale's not real.
Oh, you looked it up?
Yeah.
I know, I was wondering myself.
Not a real thing.
Now, the other thing I couldn't really find is exactly why Ray Charles is on Who's the Boss. Like, whose idea it was.
I researched that too. I couldn't find, I didn't know. I thought maybe he had like a special on ABC, or maybe he was I don't know. Usually there's a reason sometimes these people are on the shows, they're promoting an album. Not that they're promoted on the show, but puts them in the spot. I don't know. Yeah.
So there is going to be an episode with Frank Sinatra, and it's because Tony Danza is a huge Frank Sinatra fan.
Oh, okay.
And so maybe Tony Danza just really likes Ray Charles.
When is that? I
don't remember. I honestly don't think I've ever seen the episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It must be a later one then.
I'm thinking maybe season 5. So, but yeah, then I was also thinking, like, this just had to be surreal for them to stand this close to Ray Charles as he plays a piano. Like,
I mean, think about it. Yeah, they're all just standing there. He's playing. Yeah,
I mean, if you're not like a huge Ray Charles fan, or just think of, like, I don't know, Billy Joel, I'm still old. Elton John, I'm still old.
Right.
Like, to just stand next to them as they play the piano had to be very, like, profound, I would think. Not so much for the children, but I looked up the ages here, and Katherine Hellman is 1 year older than Ray Charles. So she was born in 29.
Oh, wow.
He was born in 30. So then Judith and Tony are probably late 30s here.
Yeah, probably,
So yeah, I mean, that would still very much be someone that they would have known growing up and in their adult lives. Okay, so he starts playing the song, and they're kind of all standing around the piano. So Samantha is sitting on the arm of the couch, a little further away.
Very dramatic here.
Yes. Angela and Mona are facing Samantha, but Jonathan and Tony are facing towards the door and looking at Ray. So Angela can see that Samantha is having a hard time with this.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't think she notices till the end.
Really?
I feel like Angela's looking at Ray Charles until the very end. She looks over at Samantha and notices, I think, and that's when she makes the determination.
Okay,
that she can't use the song.
Point. Like, we can't really tell how often.
I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but that's the way it looked to me. But see, like, if you look
at this one shot here, as he's singing, she kind of like looks towards Samantha and then looks away.
Oh yeah, she does.
Pass it. And then, so I don't know. I feel like she's picking up, but Tony's completely oblivious.
Yeah, the fact that Samantha's bawling her eyes out, and then she's kind of away from everyone.
Right. He's just hanging out with Jonathan, and he's just really enjoying listening to Ray Charles sing. So as the song goes on, Samantha's getting more and more upset and crying harder. And she's not doing it in like a distracting way, but she's obviously having, trouble over there. Well, they get to the end of the song, and everyone's like, that was so beautiful. And now Angela says, that was very beautiful, but we're not going to be able to use it.
Yeah, we're very sorry.
Here we are. And he's like, I could do it better.
I know, that was kind of funny.
I know. Oh, poor guy.
Like, it's Ray Charles. Like, yeah, how much better?
Right, yeah, exactly. And she's like, no, it's nothing to do with the song. It's just that it's very painful for Samantha to hear it. And she says, it reminds me of someone that I care about very much. So then Samantha starts to explain to Ray Charles as if he cares.
Ray Charles don't care about Chad McCann. He just wants his meatloaf and he wants to get out of there.
So then she's like, the boy who wrote the song about her. And then Samantha's like, no, not him. I realize that it reminds me of you. So we kind of don't really see, I mean, I guess as Samantha just sat there and listened to this song, with her family around the piano, she realized that if there's someone who has been a friend to her all these years, it is Angela and not doofus Chad McCann.
Yeah, right. Come on.
So
doofus.
She says, I said some really mean things and I'm really sorry and I didn't mean them, but I was just really upset. So she's crying, Angela's crying, they're hugging.
And poor Ray Charles just sitting there like, what am I getting myself into
this
here?
This is awkward. And I don't smell dinner.
I know, there's nothing going on. And these two are crying and
Tony left everything just sitting on the counter.
Yeah, good luck.
And ran into the living room. So the dinner is now at least 45 minutes away, probably.
Yeah, he's got to make whatever he was going to make, which we don't know.
So Samantha's like, I want you to use the song. And Angela's like, no, it's okay. We'll find something else. And then Samantha's like insisting, and Angela's insisting, and Tony's like, Angela, use the song.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, please. So she agrees to use the song. And then Tony says, how about an encore? And then Ray Charles is like, how about something I wrote?
Yeah, right.
He's like, how
play
about
this
I
crappy
play one
Chad
of my
McCann song.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, okay, well, that's even better. So then Tony starts counting.
I know, it's so ridiculous.
And he's like, 1 and a 2 and then he just keeps going, 5 and a 6 and a 7. And then he stops and he's like, isn't that what you do? And he's like, yeah, I just wanted to see how high you would count. So now here he plays Hallelujah, I Just Love Her So, which is one of his songs. And everyone's kind of dancing around the piano and stuff and having a good time. But Tony is doing this thing here where as Ray is singing, he's interjecting.
Is that
like
in the
words.
actual song? I don't.
It is not. So
Okay,
I looked.
It's just Tony being Tony.
Yeah. So this is just Tony Danza doing his thing, I
Yep.
think.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because as far as I can tell by looking online, I don't see any versions of this show where the band members are like asking questions. I'm sorry. Versions of this song being done live where the band members are interjecting.
Right.
Like their little parts.
No, only the Tony Danza version.
We should play these songs at the end so people can hear what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can find is when he did Hit the Road Jack live, the Raelettes would just keep saying Hit the Road Jack, and then he would beg them in the middle, and then they would just keep saying, like he would say all these really funny things. If you can find a live recording of him singing Hit the Road Jack, it's really cute because they just keep singing Hit the Road Jack, and he's like, after all we've been through,
yeah,
but I don't have any money, but it's cold. Like he just keeps saying all these cute things in between, and they don't care. So that's kind of how the show ends before the tag, and everyone's happy. Angela and Samantha are hugging, and Ray is singing a song. So now for the tag of the episode, I'm guessing they served this man dinner. I hope they did.
I know. I hope he got his dinner.
It seems like it's much later in the evening. Everyone else has gone to bed.
Yeah, Tony's just hanging out with Ray Charles on the couch.
I guess Dave is still in the limo hanging out in the hot tub.
Yeah, whatever.
And so they're listening to another song, and I can't tell, or I don't remember which song it was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't remember, but
Let me see, does it say here?
I remember at the time thinking that it was something. Yeah,
it starts off with "They Say," if we want to look that up. Anyway, so Tony's like, it never gets old listening to your stuff, and Ray's like, yeah, me either. And then he's reminiscing as to what date he was on when he first heard this song.
Oh boy!
And he's like, was it Annie? And then he's like, no. And then maybe it was Cindy. And then he's like, no. And then he says, no, it was Tracy. And he gives Ray a look like, and he says, thank you, Ray.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm glad I could help or anytime.
Right. And that is the name of Tony Danza's wife at the time, was Tracy.
Oh.
Yes. They are
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think they got married June of 86. They are no longer married. I think they were married up until like 2005 or something. So yeah, I think he just wanted a reason to say his wife's name. And that is the episode. I'll go first with a rating. I gave this one a 7.5.
Oh, okay.
Pretty high. I mean, it was I loved this episode as a kid. I still enjoyed it as an adult. I realize now that the actual storyline's a bit thin, but it has to be because there's like 2 segments of song.
Right.
So it can't really be that much.
Yeah. There's a good amount of music.
I definitely think Samantha was more annoying this time than I did when I was a kid. But I feel like they could have just added in a little bit more to make us feel a little bit more compassionate for Samantha. But I don't know, I kind of love that Angela mom yell.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is kind of a turning point where she really is like showing that she, like they're always going to discipline their own kids as much as they possibly can. Mm-hmm. But she really kind of stepped in and put her foot down and didn't like back away from Samantha as she was having this tantrum. So I like that.
Yeah. I gave it the same thing. 7.5.
Nice.
7.5. Yeah, I mean, just the fact that I had a guest star, that was like you were saying, when you're a kid, that's always exciting.
Yeah.
That because it just makes the show that much different and exciting. And he had a couple of really funny lines in it. Yeah. Some of them were laughing at his own expense, but there's still like, there were a few, like when he fixed the typewriter, they were like, oh, I don't remember the exact line, but it was like, oh, I can't believe you had fixed the typewriter. And he's like, well, you got to always have something to fall back on if the music thing didn't work out. Like,
I totally forgot to mention that.
I know, that's why I kind of brought it up now. But it's like, come on, the music thing doesn't work out.
I know.
It's like Ray Charles. So, but yeah, there were just some really funny moments and just kind of a different episode.
I know the other joke that I forgot earlier was in the office, they're talking about Sturdy Boy, right? Sturdy Boy power tools.
Yeah,
and he's like, oh, I've used them. And she's like, you've used power tools? And he goes on to say all these things he's built. And then he's like, I just haven't seen what they look like, but I built them. Oh. Yeah, like I would imagine that he was comfortable with whatever, playfulness they were doing in those jokes.
Right.
And like him talking about driving and stuff. And then learning more about him makes me think that he was, just because he did really drive a car.
I know.
And he wanted to be as independent as he possibly could. So, yeah. I talked over your rating.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was done. I'm good.
Who's the boss around here? Me? Or my mother? Or maybe it's you?
I guess, I'm guessing Angela maybe was the boss, just in the sheer fact alone that she was ready to tell Ray Charles, or did, that they can't use the song. And she, in the end, even though Samantha acted like a complete brat for a moment there, I mean, I understand that she's a teenager and she was hurt, and you think that's be all end all, like that's right. Doesn't matter what's going on in the world. The worst thing in the world just happened. Right. So, but Angela kind of stepped up and kind of acted more like her mother, in a sense where she really felt for her and said, you know what, that is we are really good friends and whatever. So I just on that alone, I think that maybe she was the boss. Yeah,
I went with Angela also.
Okay.
Because the only other one for me was Samantha.
I know.
But I wasn't giving it to her here.
I know. I kind of with you on that. Like, I almost went in that direction, but I just felt like Angela was.
Yeah. Because even though Samantha at the end was like, go ahead, please use the song, I don't know. I just couldn't give her boss for this. So I did go with
maybe
Angela
next
also.
time.
Yeah, because Angela, at first stood her ground, then really stood her ground when Samantha was yelling at her. And then I love that too when she's like, Angela's telling me to go to my room. Yeah, the room that Angela pays for.
Yeah, exactly.
Go to your room.
Well, and that's like originally in the episode too, when they talk about, where she's like, you can't use the song. And she's like, you care more about your business than you do about me. But it's like, hey, the business pays the bills.
Right.
Sorry, kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand. I understand, but it's just funny.
No, I agree. So, yeah, but then Angela does make the decision not to use the song, and then, I don't know. So,
right.
It's kind of a weak boss, but there's no one else to get, unless we just give it to Ray Charles.
That's true, which I should have Dang it.
I know
that would have been
the
one time it would have been really, really funny for me to say. Ray Charles was the boss.
Or to a
Which
couple
he could have
of...
kind of, I mean, I don't know. He kind of kept him in the right direction.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's true.
He could really be the boss.
All right, let's go with it.
Okay.
We're just going to say that.
Ray Charles is the boss.
All right, he is, because first of all, he wandered in after he heard the song.
Yeah, like
Then
just a lost old man wandering around.
He got Chad paid,
Yeah.
whether he deserved it or not.
Right.
And then he put it together, and then even when she was like, "We're not going to use it," he's like, "I can do it better."
Yeah. Yeah, no. What?
All right.
That was pretty funny.
Very good. Good. Okay, so you can reach us at Who's the Boss Podcast on Instagram or Who's the Boss Pod 1 on Twitter, Who's the Boss Podcast page on Facebook, or go to anchor.fm/WTB podcast.
Not
and
easy.
there you can leave us a voice message. The next episode we're going to do is Raging Housekeeper.
Your favorite.
I know. Let's see if I enjoy this one more after
Philly
I watch
Fingers
it.
is on it.
He is.
Makes an appearance again. Philly Fingers.
This will be the last time we see Wendy Whitner as well.
She did die in a horrible car crash?
She does not.
Oh, okay.
But rest in peace, Dory Brenner, who did play Wendy Whitner,
That's-
who did pass away years later, but
not
after this episode. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
We're gonna play a couple of the songs at the end if you want to give yourself a refresher as to what they sound like.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Oh, bye.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and give a big thumbs up and tell all your friends. And maybe you can tell your grandma, your mother, and your sister or brother. Maybe you have no siblings. Tell your dog and cats. Bye.
You are always a friend, someone I can talk to. Always a friend, someone I can always turn to, time and again, when it seems as if my whole world is caving in. You are always a friend, someone I can believe in. Always a friend, someone I've been needing so. And I don't have a shoulder I can lean on every now and then. We've been friends from the beginning. I love the way you always smile at me. Oh, can't you see I'm waiting? Now my only wish is that someday I will be always a friend, someone who'll always love you. Always a friend, someone who'll be worthy of you right from the start. You and me together, the two of us forever. Just seeing you, the love I wish you'd see in me, baby. Let it be always your friend. Let me be always your friend.
All right, that was. Hey Ray, what do you say? How about an encore?
Hey, what about if I play something I wrote myself?
Sounds good to me. Huh? Okay, here we go. A 1, a 2, and a 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 and a 6 and a 7, 8, 9. Isn't that how you do it, Ray?
Yeah, but I just want to see how high you can count. coffee is my favorite cook. That's why I know. Wow, I know. Hallelujah, I love her so. When I'm in trouble and I have no friend, I know she go with me until the end. Everybody asks me how I know.
Yeah, what do you say?
I smiled at them and said she told me so. Oh, I know, hallelujah, I love her so. Now if I call her on the telephone,
yeah, what do you say?
And tell her that I'm all alone.
What happens next?
By the time I count from 1 to 4,
where is she?
I hear her. Oh my! In the evening when the sun goes down, when there be nobody else around, she kisses me, she holds me tight, and tell me that everything alright. I know, oh I know, hallelujah, I love her so. Oh,